Former President Bill Clinton just spent hours behind closed doors answering questions from the House Oversight Committee. And here's where things get interesting. Clinton actually pushed for this to happen in public. Open hearing, cameras on, let people see it. But some of the loudest voices on the other side preferred it behind closed doors. Curious, right? Because what came out of that deposition? It didn't exactly help Donald Trump. According to people in the room, Clinton described conversations he had with Trump about Jeffrey Epstein years ago. And here's the key detail. When Trump talked about Epstein, he allegedly described their falling out as a business dispute, a real estate deal gone bad, not a moral awakening. Not a dramatic, I discovered wrongdoing and cut ties moment, just a deal that soured. That detail matters. Almost immediately after the deposition wrapped, Republican leadership rushed to the microphones. Representative James Comer stepped up and declared with a straight face that Clinton had somehow exonerated Trump.
Democrats, who are the majority, had an hour. We will break for 10 minutes, then the majority will go back for our second hour, which will be the third total hour. That might be the halfway point. After that, that's yet to be determined. But just wanted to mention something, because I know there's a lot of obsession about President Trump from the media. A lot of curiosity about President Trump from the media. I want to make a statement because they'll probably not mention this when they come out here. Ranking Member Garcia asked President Clinton, quote, should President Trump be called to answer questions for this committee? And President Clinton said, that's for you to decide. And the president went on to say that the president, Trump, has never said anything to me to make me think he was involved, and he met with Epstein. So I know there's a lot of curiosity about President Trump. I thought that was an interesting thing that President Clinton said. So I'll let the Democrats have the podium and they can answer your questions. But we'll come back at the conclusion, the majority will, and we'll answer all your questions.
Yes, you heard that correctly. They are now using Bill Clinton as a character witness for Donald Trump. Politics in 2026, everybody. What Comer highlighted was Clinton saying Trump never said anything to him that made him think Trump was involved in Epstein's crimes. But Democratic members present said that framing was selective, that Clinton also confirmed Trump and Epstein had a close relationship and that Trump spoke positively about their time together. That's not exoneration, that's context.
But no, I'm not happy with the way they go. I don't like seeing him deposed, but, they certainly went after me a lot more than that. I don't like it.
Democrats pushed back quickly, saying Clinton's testimony actually raises more questions about why Trump's version of events doesn't line up with earlier explanations. They're demanding the full unedited transcript and video be released, not clips, not summaries, not trust us press conferences. Because here's the playbook. Keep it private. Run to the cameras first. Define the narrative before anyone sees the actual record. Meanwhile, earlier in the day, Trump held a press conference and said he didn't like seeing Clinton deposed, said he wasn't happy about it. Which is interesting, considering he spent years saying investigations prove nothing unless they clear him personally. He also repeated that he's been fully exonerated by the Epstein Files, a claim that's far more complicated than the slogan suggests.
I don't know anything about the Epstein Files, I've been fully exonerated. Yeah.
What's your reaction to that?
Well, Howard would go in and do whatever he has to say. He's a very innocent guy. He's doing a good job.
Democrats, for their part, took a very different tone. They emphasized that no one is above scrutiny, not former presidents, not sitting ones. They said Clinton answered tough questions, didn't plead the fifth, and handled uncomfortable topics directly.
To today's deposition, I want to be clear at the outset that President Clinton, as of today, has not been accused of a crime. There are not public files available that accuse him of a crime, whereas there are publicly available documents that do allege a crime of President Trump. But it is very well established that President Clinton had a relationship with Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell, and we are treating this investigation extraordinarily seriously. And when you see the recorded deposition, you will see that we asked all of the hard questions centering the survivors, making sure that we get to the bottom of where there are discrepancies in the record, and understanding how not only the crimes that Jeffrey Epstein committed could go on, but why there was a culture that surrounded him wherein the rich and powerful turned a blind eye.
And then came the broader challenge. If former presidents are testifying now, will Trump agree to do the same? Some Democratic members didn't mince words. They publicly called on Trump to show up and answer questions under oath instead of dismissing the investigation as a hoax.
President Trump needs to man up, get in front of this committee, and answer the questions and stop calling this investigation a hoax. And we've got to go in. Thank you all very much.
More from Congressmember Garcia here.
Republicans have now set a new precedent, which is to bring in presidents and former presidents to testify. So we're once again going to make that call that we did yesterday. We are now asking and demanding that President Trump officially come in and testify in front of the Oversight Committee. He appears in the Epstein Files next to Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell almost more than anybody else. So it's time for the president to answer questions about why files are missing from the DOJ, why there's been a White House cover-up, and why we continue in that administration to call this investigation a hoax. And finally, I'll review the call that we made yesterday that we are demanding again that the press and the public be allowed inside the depositions so that you can hear the answers and the questions directly. And if that's not going to happen, they need to release a full, unedited review of the questions and video within 24 hours of the end of these depositions. That means that the Secretary Clinton deposition needs to be released immediately today.
Meanwhile, certain media voices tried to frame the situation around flight logs and who did or didn't ride Epstein's plane. But federal communications that have surfaced over the years suggest travel records are more complex than the simplified TV narratives.
I don't know what it is, but I would like to hear from her.
I would note that Donald Trump was not on the plane, so putting him in the same pool as Bill Clinton, who was on the plane, I think it was
But he's mentioned, Kaylee, all of, so ask him the question.
However,
Clinton also released a statement reiterating that he was unaware of Epstein's crimes at the time of their limited interactions, and that had he known, he would have acted differently. In his opening remarks, he leaned heavily into the idea that no one, especially presidents, is above the law. He acknowledged uncomfortable optics, but insisted he saw nothing criminal during his brief association. Whether you believe him or not, that's now part of the official record. One Democratic member leaving the deposition described the tone as respectful but serious.
I think generally it was pretty respectful. Yeah, we all called him Mr. President. The exchanges were respectful. Certainly there was uncomfortable questions for him, but he handled it pretty well. And he has not taken the Fifth Amendment so far, and I don't think he will.
You still think around 6 o'clock?
I think so.
Would you say it was more respectful than yesterday?
I would say it was more respectful than yesterday, yeah. Thank you.
Tough questions were asked. Answers were given. No theatrics inside the room. Those were saved for the cameras outside. And in a final visual contrast moment, footage later surfaced of President Biden boarding a commercial flight, chatting casually with passengers.
thanks for taking the time to talk. Children are done every day. Sorry.
Politics is chaos, optics are strategy. And symbolism is never accidental. So here's where we are. A former president testified. A current president is being called to do the same. Competing narratives are flying before transcripts are released. And the public is left sorting through spin versus substance. The real question isn't who won the press conference. It's simple. Release the full record, let people read it, let the facts speak. Everything else, that's just the pregame show.